Hey everybody, this is Nate Charles from Charles Legal Services back with another video on how to take care of your own legal matters. So today we're going to talk about how to expunge your criminal record in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This is very important for a lot of folks. Everybody makes mistakes in life, some more serious than others, but the laws of Pennsylvania, the laws of the Commonwealth recognize that people who make certain mistakes, so less serious mistakes, should not have to deal with the consequences of those mistakes for the rest of their lives. This is also especially important in an era of Google where access to public records is easier than it's ever been. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of how you actually go about expunging your criminal record, let's talk for just a few minutes about what expungement is, what it isn't, and why it matters. So in general, expungement is the removal of a conviction or an arrest or a diversion from your publicly available criminal record. Now, there's exceptions to that, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but in general, that's what it is. Now, just as important as what an expungement is what an expungement isn't. An expungement is not a pardon. It's not that the conviction just goes away. It's that the right of the public to access information about that conviction goes away. You are still, you still have a conviction on your record, so to speak. It just removes the public's right to access any mention of that when they look at your criminal record and public filings. It's also not a commutation. It doesn't make any sentencing implications go away. If you were subject to a fine or some type of probation, it doesn't make that go away. It just removes the right of the public to access information about that criminal action when they access your public records. Now, it's very important to note that not all convictions and not all criminal acts can be expunged from your record. In fact, there's a pretty narrow segment of criminal acts and criminal convictions that can be expunged. So if you have serious convictions on your record, this might not be possible, and you need to wrap your head around that. So in general, what can be expunged is an acquittal, for one. If you've gone to trial in a criminal matter and you've been acquitted, you have a right to ask the court to remove any record of your arrest from your criminal record. If you've completed a diversionary program, the way the statute words this is actually a little bit funny, but if you get some sort of community service type diversionary program or anything like that, you never actually go to trial, you never actually get convicted. The judge just agrees to let bygones be bygones. If you complete the diversionary program and you never actually sustain a conviction, that can also be expunged, the arrest and everything associated with it. But you have to stay clean for at least 18 months after your arrest in order to qualify under those standards. You can also have any criminal conviction expunged. Actually, you can have most criminal convictions expunged when you turn 70. There are numerous exceptions to that. One, you have to stay clean for at least 10 years. So you can't be jailed or arrested in the 10 preceding years. But if you turn 70 and you've been convicted of most criminal offenses, you can have those expunged from your record in the twilight of your years. Now, that is not the case if you've been convicted of a sex offense. So if you've got any sex offense convictions, this is probably not going to be expungible for good reason. It's a matter of public safety. If you've been convicted of a summary offense, at almost any point in your life, you can get that summary offense expunged. But again, only if you've been clean for 5 years. If you've finished all of your sentence and you've not been jailed or arrested for another 5 years, you can get that. You can usually get those summary offenses cleaned off your record. We'll talk about how to do that. Now, we took the time to define, expungement, but what are the practical implications here? What are we talking about? How is this going to affect your life? Why is it that you should do this? So the short answer to that question really is employment. Again, it's difficult to get a job these days if you've got a criminal record. It's certainly going to be a strike against you during the application process. But if you get your record successfully expunged within the Commonwealth, you cannot be questioned about those offenses. It's actually illegal for people to ask you about those offenses. And again, there are exceptions to that. If you are arrested again and you're being investigated by a law enforcement agency, all bets are off. They're allowed to ask you about prior convictions, even if those convictions have been expunged. Those convictions will still count against you if you get sentenced for a subsequent offense in court. But with regard to interacting with the public, minus law enforcement agencies and the courts, they are not allowed to ask you about those offenses that have been expunged. And again, with respect to employment, the nice thing about the expungement process is, to a limited degree, it allows you to lie. You're allowed to not disclose an expunged conviction to a potential employer, and you are allowed to answer any questions on an employment application as if those convictions never occurred. Okay, now for the good part. This is the how-to part. This is where I tell you exactly how to go about getting this done. So there's basically 4 steps to this process, only 2 of which are really under any of your control. Okay, the first 2 are the ones that you really need to worry about, and those are the ones we're going to focus on for the rest of this video. But the first thing you have to do is obtain a copy of your criminal record from the Pennsylvania State Police, which controls the information system, the criminal records information system for the Commonwealth. And then you have to file the appropriate petition for expungement with your local court of common pleas. That's the senior trial level court in the county where you reside. After that, the court will adjudicate your application and then order the expungement of your convictions if you're lucky. Okay, so how do you actually go about getting a copy of your criminal record from the Pennsylvania State Police? It's actually very simple. The form is SP4 TAC 170. It looks a little bit like what you see here on the screen. If you're looking for the form and it doesn't look like that one, you might have the wrong one. But get yourself a copy of Form SP4 TAC 170 and fill it out completely. Now, once you've finished filling out Form SP4 TAC 170, you're going to send it to the Pennsylvania State Repository. But take caution here. The address is 1800 Elmerton Avenue in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, as of the date of this video. That is subject to change, so make sure you Google it. Make sure that address hasn't changed. You're also going to want to include a certified check or money order for $20 made out to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Yes, you do have to pay to access your own criminal records. You want to include a copy of your government photo ID, again, just to prove that you are who you say you are, so that there isn't anybody else that's getting your records. And if you're represented by an attorney, your attorney should be including a copy of a legal affidavit or a letter of representation showing that he has the right to represent you before those public agencies. So once you've gotten a copy of your criminal record from the Pennsylvania State Police, you have to file the appropriate petition with the Court of Common Pleas. Now, there's actually 2 varieties of those petitions. These are standard forms. They're available at the website that I've put below, https www.pacourts.us/forms/for the public. There's 2 types of expungement petitions and 2 types of corresponding court orders that go with those applications. You need to download the ones that are appropriate for your situation. If you are trying to get a summary offense expunged, the forms that you want are the ones that correspond to Pennsylvania Rule of Criminal Procedure 490. You'll see that on the website. For anything else, you want to get any other conviction expunged or any other type of criminal record expunged, you want to use the forms that correspond to Pennsylvania Rule of Criminal Procedure 790. Download the correct forms. Now, in general, these forms are relatively self-explanatory. They're not that complicated. The question that jams people up is the one that says, provide the reason for your expungement. Now, some of these types of expungements are required. The court is required to expunge the convictions or the records. They don't have any discretion. So in that case, just cite to the correct provision within Title 18 of the Pennsylvania statutes 9122. Okay, just look that up. Google it. You'll find a copy. It's publicly available. For anything else, it's discretionary. The court is not required to issue an order to have your record expunged. So you want to provide a little background. You want to tell your sob story and say why having this criminal record is negatively impacting your life or the life of someone else. Now, in addition to filling out the proper petition, you want to provide a copy of an order. In almost any legal litigation matter, you want to provide you want to make the judge's job as easy as humanly possible. So you provide them an order template. Now, you don't want to fill out anything on the first page. That's for the judge and the court to fill out. But there's a second page with some information that's is largely duplicative of what you put in your petition. But go ahead and fill that out. Again, make the judge's job easier. Once you've done that, you filled out the petition and the proper corresponding order. You want to attach a copy of that of your criminal record that you got from the Pennsylvania State Police, and then you want to submit it to the clerk of courts for the Court of Common Pleas in your county. Okay, every county is a little bit different. Every county has slightly different ways that they want people to submit forms. It's a good idea just to reach out to your the clerk of courts for your county and ask them how you would like to have those, or how they would like to receive those documents, and just follow their instructions. Now, for better or for worse, that's basically it. Now, there are two more steps of the process. Again, your petition is going to go before the court. The court's going to read it. The court's going to think about it. And the court's going to either enter an order to have your criminal record expunged, or they're not. And unfortunately, there's not much you can do about that. You just have to do your best on those first two steps. Now, if you need any help with this process, by all means, Charles Legal Services is willing and able to assist. This is the kind of thing that we're willing to do for a flat fee. The amount of time that we're going to put into it is generally something that we can predict, so we don't mind quoting you a price up front. You can access our website by scanning this QR code that you see right next to me here. We'd be more than happy to help. But regardless of whether or not you retain us or attempt to do this on your own, best of luck to you. We're here to help, and we wish the best for you. Good luck.